If 1,000 diets haven't worked, you are not the problem. The method is. The new Fiber Maxing diet, with its high fiber intake, guides you step by step to transform your body in 30 days. You'll find the Amazon link to the book in the description.
The number one diet to lose fat? I think I found it. It's tough to lose fat, let alone keep it off. But there's a reason why the old saying, abs are revealed in the kitchen, is still around. Because it's true. Unfortunately, there's a ridiculous amount of misinformation out there, and even the popular diets that work tend to have more cons than pros. Today, I'm sharing the science-backed diet that's simple, easy to stick to, and just works. Here's everything you need to know. First off, you must understand that all fat loss diets, regardless of what you call it, have one simple goal: to get you into a calorie deficit where you're eating fewer calories than you burn every day. But in the diet I'll be showing you today, rather than cutting out foods, the first step is actually the opposite: eat more. Not just any food though, I'm talking about protein. One study published back in 2005 had participants change nothing else aside from eat twice as much protein as they usually do. You'd expect, since they were eating more, they'd gain weight, right? Well, here's what actually happened. After bumping up their protein intake, the participants ended up eating 440 fewer calories every day without them even realizing it. And after sticking to their high protein diet for 12 weeks, they lost almost 10 pounds of fat. Now, as for why this happened, part of it is because protein is extremely filling. Try to eat 400 calories worth of chicken breast compared to a bowl of cereal, and you'll be shocked with just how longer you stay full for. But the real power of protein is that when you're in a calorie deficit, your body can choose to burn off either fat or muscle for energy. Eating enough protein, ideally at least 0.8 grams per pound of your body weight per day, it sends a powerful signal to your body to keep your muscle and burn off your fat for energy. This is why high protein diets not only lead to more fat loss during the diet, but have also been shown to be more effective at preventing fat regain after the diet is over. However, don't make the same mistake I did and start having chicken breast for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert. You have plenty of other options. For example, here's what 30 grams of different protein sources actually looks like. For every one of your meals, pick one that you actually enjoy. So we're going to continue the theme of eating more, but now with carbs. So back when I was attempting one of my first diets ever, I went on bodybuilding.com and I saw a post from a ripped bodybuilder sharing his diet. He explained how he cut out all his carbs and basically ate just meat and veggies. So the next day I gave it a shot. I cut out bread, rice, candy, even ketchup. Anything that contains some form of carbs. Now by day 3 of this, I felt like complete crap. Super low energy and my gym performance sucked. Now after about a week, I actually did end up losing about 5 pounds. But I was confused because I didn't look or feel any better. Well, this is why. So when you cut out carbs, initially you're gonna lose a ton of weight. But this is because carbs pull in water to your muscles. So almost all of that initial weight loss is from water, not fat. And the reason why cutting out carbs often makes you feel like crap is because they're your main source of energy, especially during high intensity exercise. Now eventually your body does adapt to this and learns to use other sources for energy. But the research is clear: as long as you're in the calorie deficit and eating enough protein, you'll lose fat regardless of if you're eating a ton of carbs or none at all. So for me personally, I'm half Filipino and I grew up eating rice with almost every meal. So cutting them out completely just didn't make any sense. And you should have seen the look on my mom's face when I told her I wouldn't be eating rice for dinner. That said, the calories from carbs add up fast. If you're currently overeating, then you probably will need to cut back on some of your carbs, or at least choose less processed carbs that can keep you fuller for less calories. A good strategy I personally use is saving most of my carbs for before and after my workout for when I need the most energy, and then add them into my other meals depending on if I have the room for it. I should probably address the elephant in the room, which is my face. I just got back from Hawaii and I kid you not, I had the most epic fight with a shark. If you think my face looks bad, you should see what I did to Mr. Shark. Okay, fine. This is what actually happened. Happy? All right, back to the diet. All right, so far we've talked a lot about protein and carbs, but there is one more food group we've yet to cover: fats. Unlike carbs and protein, which only contain 4 calories per gram, fats are much easier to overeat with because they contain more than double the calories at 9 calories per gram. Now, aside from the obvious fats like desserts, cupcakes, or deep fried foods, the real problems are often the hidden fats that pack on the calories without us even noticing. For example, here's what 200 calories of salad dressing, mayo, cooking oil, cream, and butter actually look like. I could easily scoop out a couple spoonfuls of peanut butter when I'm feeling a bit peckish, and that could completely throw off my calorie intake for the day. But just like with carbs, you shouldn't completely cut out your fats. Just have them in moderation, or try to make swaps like using skim milk instead of full cream, spray oil instead of cooking oil, choosing less fatty cuts of meats, or using a lower calorie salad dressing. That said, there are some high fat foods that I personally can't live without. Comment below what yours are, but for me, it's donuts. We have amazing donut recipes in our Built with Science cookbook, but still, sometimes you just need the real thing. You don't need to completely cut out anything from your diet. There's ways to make them fit in moderation. So you need to include lots of protein as well as some carbs and fats into your diet. But how do you go about actually applying this into your meals? Well, let's start off with what not to do. This 2021 study had subjects follow a strict meal plan that I'll put a screenshot of here. The goal was to put them in a calorie deficit, and they weren't allowed to substitute any of the foods they were given. After 10 weeks, the results were great. On average, the participants lost about 7 pounds of fat. But here's the catch. As soon as the diet was over, most of them quickly regained the fat they lost. This is because sticking to strict meal plans doesn't actually teach you the proper habits of sustaining fat loss in the long run. That's why I love what's known as the balanced plate concept. Instead of rigidly planning out your meals, most of your meals should look something like this. First, fill a quarter of your plate with a protein source like the ones I showed earlier. Next, to keep you full, fill half of your plate with vegetables and/or fruits. And then lastly, balance out the last quarter of your plate with either carbs and/or fats. And here's some great options from each food category that you can reference to start building your own balanced plates. For example, for breakfast today, I love eggs, so I had a few of them as my main protein source with ketchup, and then some whole grain bread with sugar-free jam as my carbs, and then some fruit on the side. And then for lunch, I'm planning to have a balanced plate of extra lean ground beef, steamed veggies, and a side of hummus. But you can also apply this concept when eating out. I used to be that guy at restaurants, restricting myself to just salads or pretending I wasn't hungry so I could just stick to my strict meal plan. But instead of feeling restricted, just try to build or order a meal that fits within the general idea of having a balanced plate. So far, we've talked a lot about food, but now you're probably wondering, are there any supplements you can take to shortcut the process? I'm sure you've seen your fair share of supplement ads of ripped guys and girls making all kinds of crazy promises.
Simply take 2 Inno Shred and 1 shot of Volcan first thing in the morning, and it's like blowtorching your fat.
While these companies have mastered the art of using marketing and sales to take advantage of people who don't know any better, their products are honestly a bunch of BS. For example, I personally spent hundreds of dollars on fat burners back in the day. Yet the research is clear, they're basically just glorified caffeine pills that spike your heart rate up a little bit to burn a small amount of extra calories, but doesn't do anything actually meaningful for fat loss. Now, while there are a few legitimate supplements that can help you fill in the gaps from your diet, such as omega-3, vitamin D, and zinc, there is one supplement that's probably the single best fat loss tool you can invest in. Illustrating this power is a study from the British Journal of Nutrition that had a group of subjects first complete a 4-week diet. After the diet, they split the subjects into 2 groups. One group added a 30-gram protein shake into their day, whereas the other group did not. Surprisingly, the protein shake group regained less fat after the diet was over and also maintained a smaller waist circumference. So if you're someone who struggles to eat enough protein every day, then you need to make protein powder your best friend. As for which one is the best, the most regulated, highest quality protein is called whey isolate. Now, I do sell my own brand of whey isolate over at builtwithscience.com, which I'll admit is more on the pricey side because of the top quality and the 29 grams of protein you get per scoop. But regardless of if you get it from me or from somewhere else, I highly recommend making the investment. So by now you should have a good idea as to what foods to include in your diet. But one factor most people overlook is how often they eat. I used to think skipping meals was a great idea. If I didn't eat much or just snack lightly throughout the day, I wouldn't be getting many calories in, and that would surely lead to a calorie deficit. But this quickly became a nasty cycle. I'd end up feeling like crap by the end of the day, and as soon as I finally ate something, my stomach would just be a bottomless pit that never got satisfied. Generally, you should avoid ever getting to a point where you're feeling dizzy, have low blood sugar, and want to eat everything in sight. That said, there is a popular diet called intermittent fasting where you don't eat your first meal until usually around 12 p.m. and then don't eat anything past 8 p.m. I've personally used this in the past and it worked really well. Not because it's magic, but because it can make sticking to a calorie deficit easier by fitting all your meals into a smaller time window. But nowadays, I prefer a more regular schedule of eating, with at least 3 to 4 main meals per day spread out by around 3 to 4 hours from each other. And then I'll just add in 1 to 2 snacks or fruit between my meals when I'm the most hungry. Just keep in mind that your body will need time to adjust if you change your eating schedule. But if done properly, you should feel improved and consistent levels of energy throughout your whole day. Now, speaking about when you eat, did you know that where you eat also matters? This study, published in 2021, analyzed the food environments of over 1,000 households. It found that one of the strongest predictors of being overweight was eating meals in front of a TV. In addition to this, a few other interesting studies have shown that slowing down your meal by taking more bites, using chopsticks, or eating with smaller utensils all has a powerful effect on reducing hunger and potentially boosting fat loss. I disappointed my Asian mom by never becoming a doctor, but you can imagine just how excited she was when I told her I'd now be eating rice, using her chopsticks, and sitting down at the table for dinner. But remember, you gotta take things in moderation. It's okay to eat popcorn while watching a movie or watch my YouTube videos during the occasional lunch break. It's just not a great habit to eat every single one of your meals in front of the screen. So the strategies I've shared with you so far should help you get into a calorie deficit. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video where average people try to keep up with a professional marathon runner's pace and end up falling off after like 20 seconds. That's kind of like what it's like if you completely change your diet overnight. Sure, bodybuilders and hardcore fitness guys like myself have no problem losing fat fast if needed. But you'll make way more progress making just small changes at a time and aiming to lose even just half a pound of fat every single week consistently, rather than losing a pound or two on some weeks and then gaining it all back again on other weeks. Now, as for how many calories is right for your body, you can head over to our custom calculator over at builtwithscience.com/calculator, where we'll give you calories for faster fat loss or slower fat loss, depending on what's more realistic for you. But just keep in mind that you will mess up at some point. Maybe you'll binge eat really bad one night, or maybe you'll have a cheat meal gone wrong. And that's okay, it's happened to me countless times. One meal or even a whole day of eating junk won't ruin your progress. But if you find yourself cheating on your diet too often, then that's often a sign that you need to make it more enjoyable. For example, canned tuna is cheap, it's high protein, and it's low calorie, but I can't stand it. And excluding it from my diet hasn't affected my fat loss results at all. On the other hand, I love certain Filipino dishes like chicken adobo and kare-kare, so whenever my mom makes them, I always find a way to fit them in, or sometimes I'll just make healthier versions of them. Within our BuiltWithScience.com programs, we also give our members access to hundreds of easy, tasty, high-protein recipes that make dieting so much easier. But look online and just get experimenting. Create a diet you actually enjoy, because that's what you'll be more likely to stick to in the long run. Now, while we've looked at how to structure your meals and what to put in them, creating a healthy fat loss diet doesn't have to be crazy expensive. In fact, I created one of the cheapest fat loss meal plans. It includes all the concepts we've discussed in this video, and it only costs around $5 a day. So make sure to watch this video next to learn all about how to make the meals. But if you need more help and you want an all-in-one program that shows you exactly how to work out and what to eat every week to get in the best shape of your life, just head over to builtwithscience.com and take our quiz to create the best plan for you and your body. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.